Good evening. Today I'm going to go over the sterile product preparation chapter of the Tennessee Board of Pharmacy rules. So the first part is a standard. All sterile products shall be prepared in compliance with applicable USP standard for pharmaceutical compounding. And the Board of Pharmacy, upon showing of good cause and in the best interest of public health, safety, and welfare, may waive the requirement of any applicable portion of the USP standards. All waiver requests submitted pursuant to this part shall be submitted in writing. The Board of Pharmacy may authorize the Executive Director to exercise some or all of its waiver authority under this part. Non-compliance by this license licensee with applicable standard and guidelines or any other violations of the provision of this rule shall be considered unprofessional conduct within the meaning of Tennessee Code Annotated 6310-305 and a violation of the duly promulgated rule of the Board of Pharmacy. Any licensed pharmacy with compound sterile products except hospital pharmacies compounding for inpatients of a hospital shall submit to the Board of Pharmacy on quarterly basis. That's an important point here. Quarterly basis. A report listing the quantity of a high risk or batch sterile products as defined by the USP standards compounded and dispensed during the previous quarterly period, and any other information as required by the USP standard. The quarterly report submitted pursuant to this paragraph shall be submitted by the 15th day of the month following the end of each calendar quarter. Okay, this is important point here. Okay, so each required report shall be submitted pursuant to this paragraph shall be submitted. Excuse me. By the 15th day of the month following the end of each calendar quarter. In any calendar year where any one of the above dates fall on a weekend or official state holiday, a quarterly report due to that date shall be submitted on the following business day. The format for report submitted pursuant to this paragraph shall be determined by the Board of Pharmacy through the policy and made available to the public on the Board of Pharmacy website. Any licensed pharmacy which compound and dispense sterile products shall provide at minimum our request of the Board of Pharmacy the following information for any sterile drug products compounded, dispensed, traded, sold, otherwise distributed. So this the things needs to be provided. The name is trends. Name is trends in dosage form, quantity compounded, dispensed, traded, sold, otherwise distributed during the preceding quarterly period. All components and accurate statements of the weight or measure of each component, the beyond use date, storage requirement, labels and labeling with appropriate beyond use date on the structures for storage and use. Any licensed pharmacy which a compound and dispenses sterile product must ensure that the following information is on file at the practice site are readily accessible for sterile products. Documentation on the name and strengths of all products compounded over the past 2 years. Resources and lot numbers of components used in those drug products, the total number of dosage units compounded over the past 2 years, the number of the person who prepared the drug products, the name of the pharmacist who approved the drug product, the name of practitioner or the name of the patient or healthcare entity who received the compounded the result of any sampling testing or other quantitative evaluation conducted for the purpose of quality control of any sterile compounding product as defined by Chapter 1140.01 compounded over the past 2 years. I would request the board may waive selected portion of these requirements so long as any waiver granted is consistent with the board authority and Tennessee Code annotated Title 63, Chapter 1 and 10, and Tennessee Code annotated Title 4, Chapter 5. Personnel. The pharmacist in charge or a pharmacist designee shall be responsible for at minimum the following: recruitment, storage, compounding, labeling, repackaging, dispensing, and distributing of all prescription drugs and devices and related materials necessary in compounding and dispensing sterile products. Establishment of policy and procedures for the compounding and dispensing of sterile products. The documents of competency in aseptic techniques of all pharmacists, pharmacy interns, and pharmacy technicians. The aseptic technique of each person compounding and dispensing sterile product shall be observed and evaluated as satisfactory during orientation and training at least one annual basis on whether unacceptable technique are observed or detected. Establishment of quality assurance program, reviewing and updating annually all policies and procedures, revision of sterile products on a 24 hours day basis. All pharmacists, pharmacy intern, and pharmacy technician as defined in 1140.202 responsible for compounding or dispensing sterile product shall obtain practicals and academic training in compounding and dispensing of sterile products, complete annual continuing education related to sterile product compounding and dispensing and utilization, maintain in the pharmacy practice site documentation of completion of the required training and continuing education, use proper aseptic technique in all sterile product compounding as defined by the pharmacy practice site policies and procedures. Pharmacists shall be available to respond to patients and other healthcare practitioner information need on a 24-hour daily basis. Pharmacists in charge shall be assisted by such additional pharmacist, pharmacy intern, pharmacy technician is defined by 1140.202 and the subordinate personnel necessary to operate the pharmacy practice site competently and safely and provide services in the timely manner. All pharmacists and pharmacy intern, pharmacy technician must qualify through an appropriate combination of a specific training and experience to operate and manipulate any item or of equipment, apparatus, or device to which such a pharmacist, intern, and technicians will be assigned to use to compound and dispense sterile products. A written record of initials and subsequent training and competency evaluation shall be maintained in the pharmacy practice site and contain the following information: the name of the person receiving the training or evaluation, the date of training evaluation, general descriptions of topics covered, signature of the person receiving the training evaluation, and the pharmacist in charge or pharmacist designee of the pharmacist in charge. Our request, the board may waive selected portion of this requirement as long as waive the granted is consistent with the board authority under TC code annotated. Physical requirement, any facility that compounds sterile products shall comply with the applicable USB standard. Upon request, the board may waive selected portion of this requirement so long as the waiver granted is consistent with the board authority under Tennessee code annotated. Policy procedures manual. A policy procedure manual related to a sterile product compounding shall be available for inspection at the pharmacy practice site. The manual shall include policy and procedures for sterile compounding pursuant to USB standards and shall at minimum include security equipment, sanitation, reference material, prescription drug device, and related materials storage, prescription drug and device related materials compounding and dispensing, prescription drug and device and related materials labeling and relabeling, prescription drug and device and related material destruction and return. Dispensing of a sterile product, record keeping, quality assurance, quality control, duties of pharmacists, sanitary pharmacy technicians, and supportive personnel, public safety relative to harmful sterile products, including active notification of patients, as they may be affected by products found to have a defect or an out of specific result, including any recall policy or procedures, attire, pharmacist, pharmacy intern, and pharmacy technician training, complies with all applicable USB standards, and respond to an adverse event outbreak and other public health threat associated with product compounding and dispense, manufacture, propagate, distributed, or otherwise proceeded at the facility, including procedures for rapid compliance and disseminations of records to appropriate authority. Any licensed facility which is engaged in a sterile product shall conduct an annual review and its policy and procedures manuals shall update its policy and procedures manual as necessary. Failure by any licensee or registered to comply with its policy and procedures manual or any part of this rule shall be considered a violation of a duly promulgated rule of the Board of Pharmacy and may be considered dishonorable, immoral, unethical, and unprofessional conduct within the meaning. Labeling. At the time of dispensing of the sterile products, the dispensing contain must bear a label which contain the following information: the patient name, if an outpatient use or other fertility names, prescriber name, pharmacy practice site name and address and phone number, identification of the pharmacist combining the sterile products, when applicable, identification of the pharmacy and third pharmacy technicians those assisted compounding, name and amount of drug added, expiration date, and when applicable, expiration date or beyond use date of compounding, appropriate exterior label, direction for use. Original medical or prescription order for a sterile product shall comply with applicable state or federal law regulations. Hazardous products, physical requirements. If the pharmacy practice site is engaged in the compounding hazardous sterile products, a suitable facility to prevent such products and minimize the risk associated with such products shall be provided. Such a pharmacy practice site shall be designed and equipped for storage and have procedures for disposal of materials containing hazardous residue in accordance with state and federal law. A dictated class 2 type 1 contained vertical flow biohazard cabinet is the minimally acceptable compounding site for the routine compounding in hazardous sterile products. Hazardous sterile products shall be segregated excuse me. Hazardous sterile product shall be segregated within the pharmacy practice site and a storage area so identified. Dispense pre-prepared doses. Pre-prepared doses of hazardous sterile products for patients shall be placed on appropriate outer wrap to minimize the risk of exposure in case of accidental ruptures of the primary container. Reasonable effort shall be made to assure that the hazardous sterile products, primary container, and waste are removed from the site used and disposed of as hazardous waste in accordance with applicable state or federal law. The training. As a part of the training, all pharmacists, pharmacy intern, pharmacy technician involved in the compounding of hazardous sterile products, and an annual certification must be made by the pharmacist, pharmacy intern, and pharmacy technician, and pharmacist in charge that each has read and understand the latest editions of work practice guidelines for personal dealing with cytotoxic. This is important. Antineoplastic drugs, the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, ASHP, the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, ASHP Technical Assistance Bulletin of Handling Cytotoxic and Hazardous Substance. Hazardous sterile product dispense shall bear a distinctive warning label with an appropriate caution statement. Their gloving and gowning shall be required. And the compounding of hazardous sterile products, gloves should be rinsed frequently with a sanitizing agent, 70% isopropyl alcohol, and shall be changed when integrity of gloves is compromised. And the compounding of hazardous sterile product protective is disposable, gown made lint-free, primarily fabric with a closed front, long sleeves. This is important. Long sleeves and elastic or net close cuff with a cuff tucked under the gloves shall be worn. Gown and gloves used in the compounding of hazardous sterile products shall not be worn outside of the sterile products compounding area. The attire, pharmacist, pharmacist intern, and pharmacy technician shall wear applicable outer garment and shall use applicable respiratory precautions as said by the SB 797. Quality assurance, there shall be documented ongoing quality assurance program that monitor process and validation, pharmacist and pharmacy intern, pharmacy technician, performance, equipment, and environment. The program shall be designed to assure that the pharmacy practice site is capable of consistently compounding quality sterile products. And all quality assurance programs shall follow applicable USB standard. And as a part of its quality assurance program, any licensed facility which is engaged in sterile compounding shall perform a gap analysis pursuant to a guidelines adopted by the Board of Pharmacy. As exceptions or serious definitions noted in this analysis shall be rewarded in the Board of Pharmacy. Failure by any licensee or registered registrant to comply with the quality assurance program shall be considered violations of a Fidelicom Bromeo obligated rule of the Board of Pharmacy and may be considered dishonorable, immoral, unethical, and unprofessional conduct. Thank you.